Hello, my name's Daniel Hardcastle and I'm from Cre8 Growth, and today we have Mohammed with us, one of our members, and I'm taking Mohammed through his point of departure, and from there we're going to start mapping out what his goals are going to be for his new growth in his business. Welcome, Mohammed.
Hello, hi Daniel, how are you?
Very good, thank you. Look, thanks for being here today. Maybe you could talk to our audience a little bit about your business and what you want to achieve.
Well, the name of my business is ViviDante Photography. I started about 2 years ago here in Brisbane, and I didn't want to just, subject myself to just one type of industry, which is real estate. I want to expand and do different things. But of course, to do that, you'd have to, one, grow your portfolio, and then think as a businessman. So this is where I'm lacking, which is that business part and the marketing, and hopefully Cre8 will help me with that.
Great, great. So today we're going to do a quick exercise on Mohammed's point of departure. And what do I mean by point of departure? Well, you can't sell from London to New York if you don't know when London is. You have to understand what your journey entails and where you're leaving from. Once you know your point of departure, you can then easily navigate to get to where you want to go, in this case, in your boat to New York. Now for Mohammed, it's very simple. He wants to navigate his business, which is his vertical photography business, and he wants to branch out into other verticals. And he's looking at branching out into high-end photography. He's looking at media and fashion photography, and I believe you do a bit of DJing on the side.
Yeah.
So a one-stop shop man. What we're going to do is focus on Mohammed's core business, and that's his photography. So that's his horizontal. And in his verticals, we know he's got his real estate photography, he's got his restaurant and product photography, and you do portraits as well.
Yes.
Yeah. And so we're going to focus on that side of the business today, have a look at what's working and what's not working yet, maybe look at what's missing in his business and looking what's possible. From there, we're going to map out his goals and we're going to monetize those goals, and we're going to prioritize maybe 3 or 4 goals for him to get that accelerated growth that he's looking for. Excited?
Very excited.
Good stuff. Let's get into it.
All right.
So the first part of what we have to do is called the feedback framework, and it's part 1 of 3 parts of how you can monetize your goals. So first of all, we have the framework here. What is working? What's not working yet? What is missing? And what is possible? What I'm going to do now is sit down with Mohammed and we're going to brainstorm in his business these areas and plot them out. We're going to do it on some sticky notes. We're going to write them down. I'm going to write a few down too, because I know Mohammed and his business. And we're going to come back with 7 or 8 things on here that we can talk about. So welcome back. We're going to talk about feedback framework. It's the first part of 3 parts of how you can value or monetize your goals. So the feedback framework is very simple. We have 4 quadrants here, not dissimilar to a SWOT analysis. The first quadrant is what is really working in your business. We're going to plot that out. What's not working yet? Now these could be things where they're in place, but that you haven't finessed them, you haven't finished them off, you haven't quite got it to that 100%. What's missing in your business? This could be you haven't started it yet or haven't thought about it yet, and it's absolutely missing, and it could be a game changer for your growth. And then what's possible? What's possible is the outcome you want to desire. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What's your ambition? Where do you see the future for your business? It's really important that you understand that, because that's your future journey. That's your ambition. So what we're going to do now is sit down with Mohammed, plot out about 20 or 30 things on this, and we'll come back and we'll have a look at them. Okay, Mohammed, I've been listening to you now for about 5-10 minutes, and I come to the situation where I've seen your photography. You have beautiful products. There's no doubt that you're a master in what you do, but you have a bit of a doubt in your belief. And I think I have a system here where if somebody's doubting their belief, then they're not going to get ahead. They're not going to have the right charging and so on. So what I have is a fire triangle. Can you remember the old fire triangle? Where if you had heat here, oxygen here, and material here, and when the fireman comes in, what he has to do is get rid of one of these things and the fire goes out. So he either extinguishes the oxygen in the room and the fire dies, he removes the roof or the wood and the fire dies, or he gets the temperature down with water and the heat disappears and the fire dies. It's exactly the same in the business. Now what I have is brand. And I also say, why am your belief as well?
Yeah.
Over here, I have products. And down here is accessibility. How easy is it for the consumer to buy? To buy from you. Okay, and in the middle here, I have the circle of trust. Now, a consumer simply will not buy from you if they only see your products. They need to understand your brand, your belief, your why. They need to see your products, and it needs to be easy for them to buy. If you only have one or two of these things, then you won't create that trust, and people will not buy from you.
Yeah.
So a question I had for Mohammed was his website. He's got a lovely website. He uses his website for his photography, and he directs people to the website. We've ascertained you get about 300 to 500 hits a month on your website, but you have no call to action on your website. There's nothing for consumers to buy, and there's nothing for consumers to do on your website.
Yeah, I created a booking form and I put rates so at least people can have a look at it and then perhaps book, but that's not working.
No. So that when we go back to the feedback framework, we identified that was missing from your business.
Yeah.
So you need to look at something whereby you have a call to action, because they're not buying an e-commerce from you, they're not buying a widget from you, they're buying a service.
Yeah.
So how is that call to action? Now, obviously the booking form isn't working for you. So one of the suggestions I have is you have a telephone callback request where they can come in, their call to action is book a call with me for 15 minutes. They go into your calendar, they book a call with you, and you can ascertain how many calls you're going to get in the per month. And I'll come back to that in a minute. Now over here, we need to have a really compelling brand. Why are you doing this? What is your belief? What are your values? What are your purpose? And that then will resonate with the buyers that you're the person that they want to do business with. Now you actually have a really good brand and you have a really good story, and you want to move into that high-end celebrity photography, entertainment, DJ, and so on. Yeah, so you have a really strong international brand. Yeah, you've done it overseas and you've done it well, you've got credibility. So you really score high here. And you really score high with your products. I've seen your photo shoots, I've seen what you can do. You could even make me look like a god, I can imagine. A nice wavy hair and get off all my creases and so on. But what I'm thinking where you're really struggling in your business is this area here. People are not coming and buying from you. So I think if we change this in your business, we'll get some traction.
Yeah, that's the thing that's missing, and I've never really thought of it in that perspective, but it does make sense. Okay.
Great, and we'll work on that. That's an easy fix. Martin will be able to help us with that.
Cool.
Brilliant. So we've just talked to Mohammed about having a call to action on the website. Why do you need a call to action? Well, we need to understand what is your conversion. We need to measure it all. We need that data and insights. So let me draw you a bit of a sales funnel on how things happen in this e-commerce service business. So first of all, at the top, we have our social media visits. So Mohammed spends about $500 a month on his social media, and he has about 2,000 interactions on his Instagram and Facebook. Now the call to action obviously is to come onto the website from his social media. That's his call to action. So his call to action is to go website. Now what we're experiencing now is very low call to action, but if we had the right message and we had the right target audience that we were going for with the social media, and we'll work through that through the Perfect ICA and Martin's Evo Blueprint, what we can do is try and aim for a 20% conversion from social media onto his website. Getting that conversion will drive 400 people, unique visits to his website. Now, we talked about the website having call to action. He's got a beautiful brand, he's got a great message, his belief and purpose is in there, and he has some great products. You can go in there and you can see everything, but people simply aren't converting. We don't know if they're converting or not because there's no real call to action. He does have a booking system in there, but people aren't using it. So let's assume his website is not driving him traffic, but maybe his Facebook and Instagram is, and he's doing a lot on Messenger. I can imagine that Messenger is a big part of what he does with business. And Messenger's great because you can automate it. Same with WhatsApp. So let's assume that with a good call to action, he gets 400 people onto his website. So the next thing we need to do is get another call to action on his website for at least 10% conversion. Now 5% is very good for products, about 10% is where you need to be for a service conversion. So what he wants to do is get 10% of people to book in with him to have a phone call about his products and services. So at 10%, that would drive 40 people to have a conversation with him. Now once he's on that conversation, we need to work with Mohammed. We call it a bit of a strategy call. And people buy with their emotion. So if Mohammed has the right script and he has the right products and he's talking to these people through their emotive side of their brain, then we'll increase his conversion rate to at least 50%. Now if we can get his conversion to 50%, then that means 20 people are going to make a booking with him and buy his services. Now if his services are on average $1,000, then Mohammed is going to make $20,000 in his business over the period of the month, and we spent $500 here. Now if Mohammed was to bring this to $1,000 using the same percentages and having the call to actions, he could double his revenue to $40,000. And at $1,000 divided into $40,000, he's making a huge saving with his sales and marketing simply because he's aligned his sales funnel. So what we're going to do over the next 3 or 4 weeks with Mohammed is work out his content on his Facebook, we're going to work out his call to action on his website, and we're going to get those all important people to book a call with Mohammed, and again we're going to work with Mohammed on how he converts those calls. Within 4 to 6 weeks, he'll be able to double the amount of conversions that he's having today. This is what we call the sales conversion using the Evo blueprint. Okay, so now we have some really good things here. So what we did is we sat down, Mohammed, myself, and we worked out where we think his point of departure is. So we started off with what's working in his business. He has a really good online payment system. So he doesn't want to change that. That's working, that's great. He's got a really good profitable business going through his real estate, and that's taking photos of people's houses to go onto websites and so on. And his brand and his professionalism and his product of what he produces is really, really good. So he's happy with his product, he's happy with the real estate, that's his low-hanging fruit, that's what's bringing in him some money, and he's happy with how the payment system works and how he gets paid. So what's not working in his business yet? Well, in terms of real estate, it's low margin for him. So he's got to really work out that volume versus price. And as he gets busier, then his pricing can go up as well. At the moment, he's not that busy with real estate, so he has to price to get into the market. So we need to grow it, and we need to balance out how many jobs he's going to do in a given week, because if he's full doing real estate, he can't then go and do the things that he wants to do that gives him the higher GP. His back of house isn't going very well for him. So his server, his speed, his buffering, his PCs. So he needs to work on getting his back of house sorted so he's not wasting time when he comes back in the office. He can come back to the office, do what he needs to do. He's got the capability, capacity to do that. What's not working yet is his ICA, his ideal customer avatar. With his social media, it's quite generic, and there's no real call to action to his website. So what we've got to do is create his ideal avatar. Now, we talk about the horizontal as photography and the vertical is what he offers in there. For example, and I'm just making this up, say if Mohammed wants to target housewives that want to do burlesque, they want to get dressed up, they want to look really nice, they want to look sexy, he could create a vertical for that. And so his ICA would be Sally, she'd be a housewife between 30 and 50, she'd be in an area of money, maybe the husband goes out to work, she's at home, she's watching Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, soap operas, those type of things. So once we've worked out who Sally is, what Sally likes and what Sally does, she may never have dressed up in burlesque before, but we've sort of put, this is what Sally looks for. We can then do his advertising directly relating to Sally and get his target audience right. So what we could do is a picture of a beautiful woman, 35, 40-year-old, and it could be, do you want to feel sexy? Then so on, call Mohammed and have a private confidential shoot. Because remember, Sally wants to have privacy. Sally wants to feel safe during the shoot. So it might be that they meet at a hotel, it's done in public, when I say public, in a place where there are people, but it's in a private setting. And then Sally feels very comfortable about the product Mohammed's offering. Another vertical could be that Mohammed wants to do celebrity shoots. So what he has to do, he has to target agencies that have celebrities on their books. And how do you do that? Well, you don't just get in a car and knock on a few doors. You can do that through social media and target agency owners and target the ideal avatar. Again, you'd have to work out, well, who is an agency owner? What do they do? Where do they go? What do they drive? And target them on Facebook. Okay, so then what's missing? He doesn't have a studio. That's not important yet because he's out doing real estate stuff, but when he gets busier and he gets more high-end people, he needs to have a studio to bring them back to. He wants to have a photo assistant to carry that heavy equipment once he goes into videography. It's not needed right now, but it is missing from his business. He wants to do video real estate. So, you know, when you walks through the house, it's 3D. He needs to buy the equipment to do that. Once he has that equipment, because it's missing, he can then start charging a little bit more for his real estate. He wants to get into family portraits, but he really doesn't have a product for that or the pricing, and he hasn't positioned himself in the market to do that. So what we have to do is he's got all of he's got the technology, he's got the gear to do it. We now need to build him a bit of a business model around that. His website, we talked about that. It's bringing in between 300 and 500 people, but when I asked him what his conversion is, he had no idea. There's no call to action on his website, so we need to look at that. Automation. He has no automation in his business. He does everything manually. So what we've got to do is seamlessly automate his sales funnel, his booking, and his payment system. So then it's all done while he's working. It's all done back of house, seamlessly automated. And maybe he doesn't need that assistant just yet. Testimonials on Google. He's not getting Facebook or Google testimonials. So the people that are using him tell him, oh, Mohammed, you're fantastic, but they're not actually doing it. And this is a real problem in all business. So we've got to come up with some type of trigger that gets them to do a testimonial. It might be a discount off their final bill or something along those lines. It might even be that Mohammed at the end of the shoot just picks up his photography equipment and, like he's filming now, he just sits there with a client for 30 seconds and asks 3 basic questions and then posts that on his Facebook. It can be really simple to get testimonials from people. A pricing template. When we were talking about what he charges for certain customers, he didn't really have it set out. So we need to sit down there and map out all of his products and have a pricing template that, you know, your first 10 pictures might be this, your second 10 might be that, something along those lines. And then finally, looking at his equipment. If he wants to move into that high-end creative, he needs to have the equipment for it, but he's not there yet. That's his ambition. That's a year down the track. So what's possible for Mohammed? Well, he wants to be known as that creative, high-end photographer with high-end customers. He wants to work with ad agencies and do TVC, and he wants to eventually work with celebrities, work in that DJ entertainment space and taking photographs with celebrities. So that's pretty much Mohammed's point of departure. So we know where he is now. Now we need to plot a course to sail to New York. What does that look like? Now, like with any sailing boat, it's not necessarily the straight line is the easy way to go. He may have to do some zigzagging to get to his final destination. So what we're going to do is map this out, and we're going to talk about the low-lying fruit. What does he need to do in the first 100 days? It's very much around this real estate business. It's getting more clients into real estate, and it's moving into that video so he can move his prices up. That should be his focus in the next 100 days. His second 100 days will be moving into that family portrait, would be moving into his website and creating his automation. And his last 100 days would be moving him into that bespoke territory of celebrities, the DJing and the entertainment side of it. But for now, we're just going to concentrate on real estate. And Mohammed, that is how we map out your business. Okay, so we now know where his low-lying fruits are, and we talked about that in the first part of this. Now we're going to move into the second part of valuing your goals. Now, I always like to do things in 3, and I'm quite symmetrical, so I like to do things in 9 as well. So across the top here, we have 3 major strategic goals, or pillars, I call them. One is your growth pillar. The second one is your cost and cash leadership. What do I mean by that? Well, obviously, if you can reduce costs from your business, you get more cash. If you can collect your cash in quickly, you've got more cash. If you can play your suppliers in say 30 days and collect your cash now, then you've got 30 days worth of somebody else's cash. Other people's money, I call it. So it's really important that we collect our cash up front. Now we know his payment system's working, so we don't need to work on that, but we do need to work on his automation. And then finally, you have your pride and culture. So this is all about Mohammed, his brand, how he envisages his values, and what he wants to bring onto his team. So when he expands, this is the culture that he wants to have. And also it's about keeping score and having that pride in your organization. So from the feedback framework, we're really going to ramp up real estate. It's what he does well, he knows it, he's got good contacts. So his challenge now is to double his real estate business and get some new equipment with that money, and he's going to do video, then he can then move his pricing up from say $250 to maybe $400. Then if he doubles his amount of shoots that he's doing, say if he's doing 2 shoots a day at $200, that's $400. How do we get it up to $1,000? So that's what we're going to work on. There may be 8 or 9 sub goals with about 10 or 15 actions. Then we're going to move into his automation marketing. What do I mean by that? Well, I showed you the sales funnel. If he's got his content right on social media, they come onto his website, they have an easy call to action. Once they make a booking with him, we automate it, we automate the payment system, we automate the testimonial. If we can try and automate everything for Mohammed, then he's going to have an easier back of house experience, which puts him in front of the customer a little bit more. Then he needs to build his business model, and that's what he's doing now with Cre8 Growth. He's on a course with us that takes 12 modules, takes about 20 weeks to complete the modules. So what I say is this is your first 100 days or 90 days, whatever you want to make it. So that's what Mohammed's going to concentrate on in his first 100 days. Now he's been working with us now for about 20 or 30 days, and this is what he's predominantly been working on. We are talking to Mohammed about his automation and what he needs to do in his business. So he's starting to look at apps now, and he is starting to talk to other real estates and branch out. So he's really halfway through the journey here. By the end of the next 40 to 50 days, he should have really embedded these processes into his business. Then the next 100 days that he's going to work on, which will take Mohammed up to October, November, is he's going to create family and commercial products and pricing. And we're going to then create the ideal avatars for these, and we're going to create the social media and market for them. Again, bringing him back into that sales funnel. We're going to work on cast and cost leadership, his organic media. He doesn't want to spend a lot of money at the moment on his paid media. He will have to when he wants to scale, but he's not ready to scale that yet. So how do we work with Mohammed to create great content that actually resonates with his ICA, that people then share his content, and he gets organic visits coming onto his website? We want to embed continuous improvement. So whatever we bring into this, it's the best in class. He keeps coming back and improving it. He doesn't just implement it and walk away. We need to implement it, keep score, and make it better. Then in his next 100 days, which will be probably the beginning of January, February 2021, he really wants to rev up the celebrity status, the DJing, the photos. So we need to make a plan now on how he's going to do that. But he's not going to work on that until he's really embedded these two because this is what's going to drive his growth. This is the nice to have. This is his ambition. And it's probably 18 months away. He's going to hire a lot of his equipment when he moves into this space. He's not going to buy it because he's going to do some testing, and that's going to save in his cash. Yes, hiring is going to cost more operationally, but if you've got money coming in, it doesn't matter that you hire a bit of equipment. What you don't want to do is go and buy all the equipment and it's sitting on the shelf and you could have used that cash for your marketing. And then finally, he's going to become a thought leader. And what do I mean by that? Well, if people are going to come to him, he really needs to be out there blogging, doing social media, having interviews, doing podcasts. So to become a thought leader, he really needs to change the way that he's thinking about himself and his business. And we're going to work with him to make Mohammed one of the great thought leaders of the celebrity photography in Australia. A bit like paparazzi, I suppose, but not. And that's pretty much Mohammed's journey now. And we've mapped that out today over a couple of coffees out here in the sun. And it's been a really pleasant morning for Mohammed. And now we've got everything that's in his head out on paper. The next step we have to do is monetize these. So Mohammed can clearly see where his growth is coming in and where his profit is going to be. So to do that, we need to get onto a spreadsheet. We need to start working out his goals. So the next challenge for Mohammed now is, what are the 5 or 6 goals that he needs to have written down that will achieve this real estate growth? Then underneath those 5 or 6 goals, in a grid formation again, so real estate at the top, what are the 5 or 6 goals? What are the 10 or 15 actions that filter into those goals? So he'll have 5 goals, maybe 10 or 15 actions. 5 goals, 10 or 15 actions. 5 goals, 10 or 15 actions. He's now going to have about 45 actions. Sounds a lot, but if he knocks an action off every 2 days, and he will then achieve in his 100 days the 45 actions. And it's just about chunking it down, one step at a time. Some of the actions might be half a day, some of the actions might be half an hour. He just needs to have them written down and tick them off and see the value in those actions. And that's the third part of the process. And we'll have that on another day. My name's Dan Hardcastle. It's been a real pleasure to work with Mohammed today. I'm from Cre8 Growth. If you want to know more about how we can create value in your business, come onto our website. You'll see the link now, click on it. There's a free gift in the website, which is a strategy call with me, where I can help you with this over a phone, absolutely free. And at the end of that phone call, if you feel you want to work with me, you feel we're a good fit, then you can come onto our value creation program, just like Mohammed's doing. Thank you once again. Have a great day.